Okay, as we can see, I'm going to start work on my hack, and I've been doing a lot more thinking about this entire thing. And originally, like I said before, my idea was to wire out each one of the speakers to an 8-panel relay board. Actually, I need 6 of these guys. And I'm able to switch between audio playing from internally to audio playing externally. And although that would be pretty cool, and I have the parts to do it, and I have the time and everything, getting all the wires out of the Invoke right here to the external board and then bringing them all back in again, it's going to get kind of messy. I mean, we're talking about, 6 pairs of 6 speakers, right? And so I'm going to have 6 lines coming out and 6 lines coming in. That's a total of 12 lines. This thing's not really, bulky. It's pretty fine-tuned. And I'm thinking to myself, really, if you ever need to listen to music, are you ever going to want to use this guy as a speaker again? Now, everybody is different. Someone might look at it and say, yeah, I'm going to use it as a speaker again. Some people like me are going to say, you know what? I have my converter box, which is this guy right here. If I ever need to carry him anywhere, I have this little wireless Bluetooth receiver unit that I could go to a line and it turns it into a Bluetooth transmitter, and I could go to a Bluetooth speaker. Is it a little bit more complex? Yeah, that much? Not really. So the more and more I thought about it, I said, yeah, you know what? I could wire all the speakers out to this little 8-panel relay switch and have it all done and have that work, and that'd be pretty cool. But in all reality, do I want to waste half a day doing this? No, I don't. 1, because I really don't want to waste a half a day soldering all these connections. And 2, I'm aggravated at Harmon Kardon for having me to have to do this even to begin with. So what I'm going to do is I have a tweeter apart right now. I've already wired in a woofer coming out of here. So I disconnected one of the woofers and I tied my lines into it coming out of this box. It's already down in here. And what I'm going to do is tap into one of the tweeters and run it out. This device takes stereo left and right channel. There's a left and right channel on this guy. So the Harmon Kardon doesn't really know channels. All it is speakers, but they do have 2 channels, a woofer and a tweeter. So one of the channels I'm going to hook up to the woofer speaker, the other channel I'm going to hook up to the tweeter speaker. Right and left is going to come out of here, and what I'm basically doing is, since it's not stereo anyways, I'm going to combine these 2 into a single input into an amplifier. So the amplifier is going to get both my woofer and my tweeter as a left and right channel. But I don't have stereo for a whole house audio system. I got speakers all throughout the house. And each room is not stereo. Each room is just one speaker, which is a high fidelity speaker. So I pretty much merged the woofers and the tweeter output into one, which goes into an amplifier that just amplifies that whole dynamic range, which sends it to a whole dynamic range single speaker. So I said, yeah, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Although this is going to be pretty cool if I decided to do this, I have this. This was like $5. I just picked it up on Amazon. I probably find another fun thing to use it with. I'm not going to use it on this. All I did is I took some speaker wire, ran it through the system. I'm going to connect it up to the tweeter outputs right here, seal it up, finish my woofer output, disconnect the speakers for the rest of the tweeters and the woofers. So there's no sound coming from the Invoke itself. And then I have one woofer and one tweeter output going to the outside, which then going into my converter box, which then goes into my whole house audio system, which should work. So I'll no longer have the audio reverb like I had before. The Harmon Kardon speaker system is dead. I basically removed probably 60% of the electronics. I nullified because I don't need it. Frustrated? Yeah, it is. Very frustrated. So I just turned on my soldering gun here. My 1984 Radio Shack Special Weller soldering gun. You know what? Still works. What do you do? Sure, I could go out and buy, a $1,000, high efficiency soldering gun, but you know what? It works just fine. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get some other tools real quick so I could go ahead and strip some of these wires, put these guys on, get it all taken care of. 1, little flame. 2, heat shrink tubing to cover up the solder connections I'm about to make on this thing. Have those off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to strip some of the cabling off of this one. Like I said, battling a cold. Yeah, oh well. So let me go ahead and finish stripping this off. There we go. And people that don't believe me that this is a Radio Shack soldering gun, not sure if you could read this, but there you go. Radio Shack, there it is. Can't find this anymore. This is, what do you want to call it? Collector's item right now. Soldering paste from Radio Shack. There you go. Been doing this for quite some years. So I'm going to put some of the rosin soldering flux on the wires. Just makes it easy to solder. Helps the solder flow through the wires. I'm letting my soldering gun here heat up. And then what I'm going to do is solder the tweeters, positive negative, to the wires coming out that I have coming out the unit. Get some solder on that bad boy. There we go. Positive to positive, so my white stripe. Make sure which one's my white stripe. Here's my white stripe right here. So I'm going to do some soldering. It's not going to solder above the circuit board because that would be bad. So there we go. There's my positive, positive. Both on there. Nice little smoke. That's on there really good. Next piece of wire. Light him, he's done. Boom. He is done. So now that he's done, I'm going to go ahead and pull that wire back out again. Take up the slack, so I don't need all that excess in there. Okay, take my torque wrench, take my tweeter. I'm going to put the tweeter back in. So I don't want to lose him. Take the torque screws. Quite simple. Pull this out. Actually, I think it was the wrong lead that I wanted. Pull out the other one. There we go. So the other lead is out. Take a little bit of heat shrink tubing. Take my trusty thing. Close the heat shrink tubing around the exposed end. That's done. Put the wires back in. And this guy then gets closed up. And since this Harmon Kardon Invoke will no longer ever play speakers on its own, I don't have to worry about so much the insulation adapters and stuff that keep this guy from vibrating, because he won't vibrate because, ta-da, he no longer plays audio. Well, the speakers no longer activate. This Harmon Kardon is going to work just fine. And again, back to Harmon Kardon. You guys pissed me off. Really? You couldn't put a single line out on this thing? You couldn't make it so you could switch the audio off and have it transmit to an external speaker? Really? I mean, nobody in that brain trust said, hey, you know what, guys? We sell Bluetooth speakers. Hey, you know what? Harmon Kardon sells Bluetooth speakers. Wouldn't it be a nice option to be able to transmit this guy to an external Bluetooth speaker so you can enjoy Cortana in the other room? Wait a minute, here's an idea. Have a Bluetooth speaker with a built-in microphone. which then allows you not only to transmit and receive from this unit to another speaker in another room. Whoa! Oh my God! Who's thinking here? Wait a minute, we can't do that. That actually makes sense. We can't do that because that would make a product that people actually want to buy. Fucking morons. Okay, next woofer. When the woofers are in there, they're got a little stickiness to them. So what I do is just grab a little screwdriver, that pops it out. And here they have those little rubber adapters on the bottom. I don't care, I don't need them. Anyways, take off the connection. Grab my handy dandy heat shrink. Again, cut off way too much. I don't need that much. Okay. Okay, that's back on. You know what's this sort of, this is like neutering the Harmon Kardon Invoke. You know, people say, well, you know, they say, you know what, they have to have, you know, I get it. Yes, there's going to be people that want speakers. I get it. But, again, I come back to this. You fail to recognize where your target market is. You fail to recognize where your product fits in the consumer. This is not groceries. This is not paying an electric bill. This is not, you know, a means that you need in order to survive. This is purely a luxury disposable income device. So those that have the money to pay for disposable income likely would use that disposable income to pay for other things, i.e. Bluetooth external speakers, amplifiers, other home automation systems. Now, granted, there's like the Lightion and other home lighting systems that this guy is compatible with. Granted. Okay, you guys did that. Good. I'll give credit where credit is due. At least you took that process there. But it's almost like that simplest thing where somebody builds a brand new elevator that works off of magnetic levitation. They put all these safety items and all this stuff into it and huge amounts of money into this elevator. And someone gets in it and the door closes and they look and nobody put any buttons in it. It's like, guys, where's the button to go to a floor? Ah, shoot, we forgot about the buttons. I mean, they're so focused on all the other technology underneath. It's typical engineers. They're so interested in just getting the technology working, they completely forget the human interaction with the device. It's called, what is it called? The human-machine interface, right? Oh, we forgot to put buttons in the elevator, guys. Oh, and everyone's laughing. And people are like, well, how stupid can you be for not putting elevators in a button? It's like, because so much technology went into the other parts of that elevator that do some wonderful, really cool stuff. And everybody's attention was focused on that, getting that to work, that some of the simpler things get forgotten. Happens all the time. You know, I'm guilty. I'm not saying Harmon Kardon guys aren't guilty. You know what? Like I said, I give credit where credit is due. I also put responsibility. There were times I designed something and I come back and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to add, you know, this, or I forgot to add a simple, hey Chris, where's the on-off switch? Oh, you know, yeah, okay, I get it, you know what I mean? Hey, that touch display is great, However, some people want to be able to use a knob in order to get to a menu item. Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a knob here. Yes, it's designed. I bought the heart. I just don't have it on the diagram. Yes, I know it's screwed up again. So I get it. I get the screw ups. But somebody should have caught this. That's my point. Somebody should have caught this. So Harmon Kardon, if you want to release an update to this guy, turn him into a Bluetooth transmitter, disable the speakers when you do that, and allow it to connect to external devices. In the meantime, this is what I have to do because of you. Push them on there. Seal them up. So now, my Harmon Kardon can no longer transmit, or the speakers can no longer create sound. Oh, she's done. Time to put this, let me go ahead and clean up my work area a little bit. Alexa, you can go over there. What I'm going to do is tidy up the whole bottom part of this unit right here. So what I'm just going to do is basically the reverse of taking it apart. There we go. Let me clean up my work area a little bit of stuff I don't no longer need. All that will be garbage. So the first part that goes on is this one, which is the 4 screws. These are torque screws. Okay, I'm not sure if you could see it, but as you can see, I drilled a hole through the bottom. Made sure I avoided drilling a hole through either than this or any of the electronics. This is a good spot because I don't hit any electronics through any of these guys as well. So this was a good spot to put it in. This little hole, just used a drill bit large enough to fit these 2 wires through. I didn't make a huge gaping hole. But I'm going to set this guy back in, and I need 1 screw. Feel it tightening up. There we go, good enough. Once that's on, then I'm going to take my other bottom plate right here. Make sure these wires get pulled through. Lined up properly and seated properly. Everything goes back on. Make sure I could feel the buttons push out and in. Make sure those buttons are aligned. Make sure my screw holes are aligned. And go ahead and tighten them back up again. Remember, this hole was originally designed just to fit 1 cable through. I'm trying to fit 2 through. That's why I decided to do what I did, because I didn't think I could fit 12 through, and that would require a completely different solution, which I didn't want to have to bother with. There we go. There we go. Most part is done. Okay, now what I have to do is go ahead and put the top baffles back on again, even though they're not really needed anymore. Aha! Yeah, Harmon Kardon, I did screw up. So I'm going to take that back off again. Take this, slide him over the top, because this top plate holds this metal cover on. So the metal cover is now on. Slide the zero force insertion ribbon cable through the opening. Set this down. Also, if you notice, I'm going to take this apart. If you notice, there's that ridge on the bottom right here that sticks out underneath. If you notice on the top of here, you'll notice that there's a circuit board on this side. So this unit could only really go one way, because if you look at the indentation on the bottom, it has to go in an area that has room for it, which is right in this area in here. The circuit board's up here. There's no room for that indentation. So if you want to know how to line it up, look at that bottom piece right here, that indentation. You can see it from the side right there. Goes into where the opening is on this side right over here, where it has room. Oh, and another word of warning. At this point in time, don't try to pick up the Invoke by the external thing. Whoop! Yeah, boom. Just a word of warning. So I'm going to line up the indentation with the area of hole inside my Invoke, which is right there. So again, I'll feed this through yet like a 5th time. Line that hole up, and it should sit flush, which it does. So now I have the zero force ribbon cable coming out. This guy's flush right now against the casing. I should have 4 screws, which I have right here. These are 4 torque screws. I got my torque wrench right here. I'm gonna put in my 4 torque screws right here. So now I have my top latch unit on. The next thing that needs to go in is my controller bar. And remember I said I took this off originally. We have this gearing mechanism which attaches to the gearing mechanism. There's gears around the outside edge this guy tunes into. That gives you that feeling of smooth rotation. There's the zero force insertion point. Remember I said before when I took it apart, blue goes out towards the outside, not the inside when I connect them up. Since he can only fit one way, as we can see now that I can pick them up by the external because this cap is on, you can see there's that hole right here, right? And you can see that's where, let's see if I get that little white gear ratio comes in. So I know that's where that's going to be, so I could just line up my gear with this, and then as I'm putting it on, I have to insert the zero force insertion ribbon cable, which is very delicate. You can't just, it's zero force, but it's still very delicate. So you have to be, it's hard to work in the small area here, especially being such a big guy. I'm going to turn it sideways to make it a little bit easier to get to. There we go. This is the most delicate portion of the operation right here. There we go. Slid it right in. White piece goes on top. There we go. Our unit's back together again. Now what we need to do is put our 3 screws in. Grab my 3 screws. Those are Phillips head. So I need to swap out my T10 Torx for, I believe this is, I'm just using a standard number 2 Phillips. Top turns, that's your volume control. All that's left right now is the top glass plate. I don't know if you can see this, but on the glue, you see that little piece of blue right there? If you look on the top of your Invoke, at least mine, there's that little blue right there. So evidently they drew the blue on the 2, then they made it together because some of the blue marker rubbed off on the sticker, on the double-sided tape of this guy, which is a benefit to me because now I know I have my marker and how this guy goes onto him. So all I need to do is line up the blue smudge on the double-sided tape to the blue mark on the top of my Invoke. And what I want to do is center it as the best I can. Doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but you want it to be pretty good. Oh boy, that's horrible. I can't leave that. Wow, that was horrible. That was truly horrible. Hopefully you guys don't hold me accountable to that one. Harmon, you can make fun of me on that one. So again, I'm gonna set him up. There we go. He's pretty much good centered right there. There we go. So now my Harmon Kardon's fully reassembled again. As we can see right here, top plate is on, turning thing turns, metal plate is securely sealed, bottom part is on. I got the buttons in the back. I make sure I could feel them and I could push them in and they work properly. I got my wires coming out the bottom side. So now what do I have to do? Well, I'm going to do something that I always do. Sometimes good enough is exactly that. And I'm sure that people are going to say, oh, I can't believe you said good enough is good enough. Well, you know what? Sometimes good enough is good enough. So here's my converter. And I'm going to have a left and right channel. But instead of a left and a right, I actually have a woofer and a tweeter output. So I'm going to put my woofer on my left channel and my tweeters on my right channel. So here is my left and here is my right. So my woofer was the shorter of the two, so I know that my stripe line is the positive off the speaker. So I find the one with the white stripe, which is this guy. He belongs to the positive, which is this one right here. Grab my little simple wire nut. You're using a wire nut? Yeah, I'm using a wire nut. Because at this point I really don't care how it looks. I don't need to solder it in case I ever want to use this device or anything else later on. I have the option to do so. What I need to do is I need to head over to the garage, grab 2 more wire nuts, and I'll be right back. As we can see, this guy's all done. He's all wired up. What I'm going to do is turn this guy over real quick. I'm going to grab some electrical tape. So what are you going to do for electrical tape? Well, it's just one of those things where I want these cords to always come through the opening at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just put a little piece of electrical tape down in there, and that should keep them from popping out. So I don't constantly have to be putting it back through the little groove on the bottom where the power cable normally went. I'm going to have to put the power cable in. I'll probably have to redo that piece of tape. But the good thing about tape is you can peel it off and peel it back on. So that completes the disassembly and reassembly of the Harmon Kardon Invoke. So now we're going to go into the library where I normally keep this, and I'm going to move the camera and we're going to plug it in and see if it works.